So hello everybody, welcome to another video, and today I want to talk a little bit about Gara's new augment that was added with Citrin's Last Wish. So the new augment is for Shattered Lash and it's called Shattered Storm. Now my reaction to this was a bit of a roller coaster, as it sort of can be understood in many different ways. What it says is, when Gara breaks her mass vitrifying with Shattered Lash, enemies struck by the glass suffer Splinter Storm at 100% strength. I think it's the word suffer that creates the confusion here, because there are two ways to suffer from Splinter Storm. You can either have the effect of Splinter Storm put on you and suffer from that, or you can suffer the damage of Gara's Splinter Storm. I thought it was going to be the latter, so I got really excited because Gara's Splinter Storm is, I was about to say, one of the strongest abilities in the game, which is a lie because it is the strongest ability in the entire game. Like seriously, if you have the right setup with a nice stat stick, you're gonna be doing millions of damage around yourself within minutes of joining a mission. I was, however, a little bit worried about that 100% strength thing. What does that mean? Does that mean it doesn't scale with your power strength? Or does it mean that it's not gonna do your scale damage, but rather the base damage? The important thing here, I was really excited, which was immediately crushed on stream when someone mentioned that it's the other kind of suffering, as in they don't take the damage of your Splinter Storm, but rather are affected by Splinter Storm, so it is as if you were to cast Splinter Storm on them. And that made me really sad. For about a day, because then I realized that there's actually a reason for casting Splinter Storm on enemies as well. Because when you cast your Splinter Storm on an enemy rather than yourself or an ally, the enemy gets a debuff that increases their damage taken by 1.35 times. So they take 35% more damage from everything. So you're effectively putting a Bane mod on all your damage. And that is pretty good. Now, I've heard some people say that it does actually add the Splinter Storm damage as well, but I've tried missions with and without the augment and the damage of the explosion was the same. So here's the build that I use, and even though people always laugh at me for using rejuvenation, I still use it. This is because I'm no longer using mending splinters, and the only way this build dies is if it gets very slowly chipped down by many enemies over like multiple minutes. And the regen from rejuvenation combined with the regen from Arcane Grace, as well as 2 blue shards that give me health regen as well, means that the only way this build actually dies now is by getting one shot through 90% damage reduction and adaptation, which is pretty hard to do. Then we run Primed Continuity and Constitution for a ton of ability duration, so our Splinter Storm lasts 40 seconds, which gives us plenty of times to refresh it, and it also gives us faster knockdown recovery. Then we of course have the Shattered Storm augment, which envelops enemies in Splinter Storm whenever we detonate our mass vitrifying, which we do all the time to stack our damage, and it makes the enemies take more damage, which is nice. Then comes my only source of power strength from my mods, which is Power Drift for 15%, and the additional 30% to get to 145% comes from 3 Crimson Archon shards. This is important because you need to get enough power strength to get 90% damage reduction from Splinter Storm. Now I also like to run Streamline on this to make our combo a little bit cheaper. Then we have Auger Reach and Stretch for a bunch of range, which is very nice, and we top it off with Vitality and Adaptation for a bunch of health and stacking damage resistance. Though you can easily drop either of these and you should be absolutely fine, as this build takes very little damage to begin with. One really important thing for this build and what makes it so powerful is your stat stick. You need a good melee weapon and just load it with as much generic damage, either slash or puncture damage depending on what type of Shattered Lash you're gonna use, and then as much elemental damage as possible. I use the Gazal Machete as my main stat stick for pretty much everything, which is why I run Organ Shatter on it, even though Shattered Lash doesn't have any crit. The build works exactly the same as it did before the addition of this augment. You want to run it with Zenuric so you can get nice energy generation. You cast Splinter Storm on yourself, then you cast Mass Vitrify, and then while standing close to the wall, you break it with Shattered Lash. This explodes the wall and does 3 things now. It damages any nearby enemy, it adds the damage of the explosion to your Splinter Storm, and it now affects any enemy hit with Splinter Storm as well, increasing their damage taken. This is in my eyes still the strongest build in the entire game, as it kills everything by simply existing in its vicinity. I mean, look at this clip right here. I've been in the mission for about 13 minutes and my Splinter Storm is already doing 1.9 million damage. I kill Acolytes by simply deciding not to extract. I don't even need to do anything. The Acolyte gets close, it dies. That's it. It's ridiculous. And that's why I think this augment is a bit meh. You know what I mean? It's adding damage to a Warframe that already has all the damage. So, it's just a massive overkill. Now, to be fair, you might not enjoy running a Splinter Storm build, right? So maybe you want to use this with guns or melee weapons. In that case, the augment is actually pretty good, because having a free Bane mod on all your damage is not bad. especially since it's a debuff on the enemy, so if you're running in a squad, all your allies can take advantage of it as well. So all in all, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. It's not bad. And as always guys, I thank you very much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.